So this guy, okay, we're going to watch Andrew Bridges. Andrew Bridge is a guy who went viral on TikTok. You probably recognize his face. And you probably recognize this picture, this TikTok. And, you know, it looks like he put a lot of effort into this video. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. It looks like his channel is going to be sort of a new essay channel of some kind or a podcast channel of some kind. He said, Charlie Kirk, it could have been you, which tells me he's probably a centrist or a conservative, because Charlie Kirk, it could have been us is only true because of gun violence, but nothing else. Because at the end of the day, like, Charlie Kirk was like a very specific and special case, but I think he's, from my understanding of why he went viral in the first place, was making fun of like poly people and why they looked that way. But you guys know we also talk about categories here. You guys know I did poly for 10 years, but now I'm monogamous. But I'm not like poly monogamous. It was just like, it's not an identifier for me. It's not like an orientation. It's just like you're poly or monogamous or open based off of the relationship you have with the people involved. So my partner and I negotiated and decided to be monogamous, but had I dated a different partner, maybe I would have been poly or open or something. Like, I'm open to whatever works for the people involved in the relationship. That's kind of my focus. And I do believe polyamory works because I believe high compatibility is not just one person, it's many. Do I think the probability of monogamy working is similar to poly? Kind of. Like, I've been in poly circles my whole life, and I think most people, poly or monogamous, are settling. And I think that's really important and the thing to pay attention to. The question, though, is why did Andrew make this video? Why did he pick on poly people? Why did he go for people on TikTok? Why did he, out of all people, make this video? Because honestly, the beard, glasses, and beanie, it's like, bro, you look like that guy. You look like that category of that kind of guy that isn't poly, but that's like it's hipster or like thinks he's better than other people or like doesn't shower. It just depends on which bubble I'm in, right? But you pick a bubble, you make a narrative around a stereotype of a person, and you decide, why do they all look that way? But everybody looks that way. Trump voters look a certain way, you know, XYZ group looks a certain way, but it's not like every Trump voter looks the same. It's just like if you find that meme of the bald guy with glasses and an American flag in his icon, that's, a stereotype. So the question is, what motivated this man to go after poly people? Let's find out, because he made a TikTok that went viral and then just made a video, an hour and 40-minute video about this topic. So I put it at 1.25 like normal. Let's see what he has to say.
Why do people in open relationships always look like that? I'm being very non-specific here.
No, because what do you mean by that?
9 months ago when TikTok was getting banned, I made a video that got more attention than anything I have ever made in my entire life, and that question still...
It's because stereotypes evoke a lot of anger and bigotry out of us. It also feels a lot of very relatable, and stereotyping in any way is usually very well received online. You can think of Lily Singh stereotyped Indian parents and then made a whole thing on it. You can think about, I watched a lot of Arab comedians. They stereotype their parents. It makes people feel relatable. You can think of Uncle Roger. He stereotypes Asians and it makes a lot of views. Like, stereotyping people makes people feel seen, understood, liked, in on the joke. It allows them to be bigoted or hateful. Yeah, stereotyping is virality because it's the lowest hanging fruit of observation.
Hangs in the air. I still get stitched, duetted, and tagged in videos at least once a week regarding this topic. The fact that this won't die tells me two things. One, it's really, really funny. And two, people are still trying to find answers, but there is good news. I have spent the last almost 100 hours in open relationship support groups, forums, reading books, attending orgies. Before we get too far into this, if you think all this video is going to be is me ripping on consenting adults, it's not. I am going to make a lot of jokes about it, but if you are in a relationship like that and you are secure in that, I think you will enjoy this video. Okay. Yes, I go relatively hard on it in the beginning, but you'll see how my opinions kind of change. If you're here to actually have this question
interesting. I'm very intrigued.
Answered, I'm going to do all of that and more. I was not the first person to notice the look, and that itself is very telling. Yes, it's a big meme, and it's funny to goof on, but I do think...
Okay, Blair White, why do all trans women look like that? Come on, girl. You know you could do that any which way. Why did she sit here and... By the way, that's not even true. Trans women don't all look like Blair White, but like Blair White looks like that kind of trans woman. Come on, girls. We all look like something. Okay, why do gay people look like that? Why does autism look like that? Why does... come on. It's like it's so silly for us to pretend like people don't fall into categories. You know how many people look exactly like me and act just like me? Okay, please.
There are culturally significant answers to this. I think beyond the surface question of why do people in open relationships always look like that is something that does affect you, me, and the polycule that we are all in together. Because like it or not, this is something that has been, for better or worse, on the rise for a while again after decades of falling off. We need to understand why that is.
You know, even like predators and pedophiles fall into that. Like, why do pedophiles all look the same? They don't. That's why you won't. That's why you refuse to acknowledge that your parent or brother or sister is a pedophile. Pedophiles don't all just look like that stereotype. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't all just look like that. That's the thing.
Aside from seeing this in the research, we also see it in search trends, regardless of the specific dynamic, whether it's swinging, open, poly, or otherwise, which yes, those are all different. If we were to take these
Okay, I appreciate his research category differences. I appreciate that, bro.
numbers at face value, about 5% of the US is currently in a relationship dynamic like this.
Woo!
And around 20% have tried it at some point. So while this is still uncommon, know that these folks live among us. They might be someone you know. They might be someone in your walls, watching you sleep at night. They might even be speaking into this microphone right now. No, I'm not. But the unavoidable part of this video is that there are nearly endless styles of romantic arrangements, and if we don't have some shared language, this video is going to be an absolute mess. Well, more than it's already going to be anyway. So here are the 40 different ones that I could find, broken down into 6 different categories. Yes, there are enough to break them down into 6 different categories. I will be skipping any that do not have at least one.
I don't know why everyone's acting like monogamy is like this default when your grandpa had 2 families. I don't know why you're acting like monogamy is the default when how much of the US population is cheating? How much of the global population is cheating? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of funny.
Committed relationships, so things like friends with benefits and situationships are not going to be a part of this. Okay, so I wrote out an entire list, but there are way too many of them. There are way more than I realized. So instead, I'll just say this. There are sexual ones, there are romantic ones, there are ones that are done as a couple, group, or outside of that couple as a singular person engaging with people outside of that couple or group. But there are people hearing that thinking, Andrew, what in the degenerate fuck is all of that? And there are other people saying,
fuck you, Andrew. You didn't mention my hyper-specific relationship dynamic of polysaturated nesting with soft dom energy and ethical cheating.
for this video, we will only be discussing open relationships and polyamorous relationships unless explicitly stated otherwise. These are both under the non-monogamous umbrella, and for that reason, I will be calling these people non-mons. Open is a couple that can sleep with other people, but no romantic entanglements. Poly gives the green light to love, sex, romance, and attraction in addition to sex. For the monogamous people, I will call them boring, as they don't like to explore and they're just not open-minded enough. No, I'm kidding. I will call them monos. I've got a few guests for this episode as well to help me really flesh this out.
Hi, I'm Forrest. I'm queer, transmasc, and polyamorous. I've been practicing polyamory for, probably 6 years now, and I couldn't be happier with it.
My name is Stone. My pronouns are they, them. I'm poly. You did! You I mean, you're getting so canceled for this. Oh my God.
I know.
Hi, everybody. This is Wontavious DeMarcus DeTom Robinson Jr. Does that work for you?
That's perfect.
As well as some more voice note contributors from Instagram, like the last episode I did. So with all that out of the way, guys, my name is Andrew. All of my social media links are in the description. This is episode 2 of whatever this is. So let's get into
group sexual relationships that are known as
polyamorous relationships.
And it's when an individual has multiple romantic or sexual partners at the same time.
People who have lived this way for years say it carries a lot of stigma.
I'm polyamorous.
I'm polyamorous.
We're not the type that you would
Hi, I'm Leanne and I'm polyamorous.
Today I'm telling you about 3 things that I
Anytime this topic comes up, someone will inevitably say, oh, I could never do something like that. I am way too jealous.
If you're a polyamorous person, chances are you've heard someone say, oh, I could never do that. I'm just a jealous person.
I mostly don't believe people when they act as if this is something they could never do, or if this is something that has never crossed their mind, because I know a circumstance that many people reach in their youth that does make them question it. Speaking as someone who is very sentimental, I bond with people very intensely, and in my early 20s, when I was much more casual about all this, I got to meet a lot of people that I really loved for many reasons. Casual relationships, failed relationships. Even when I knew things weren't going to go long term, or there was some obvious incompatibility, I always found it hard to fully end things. Sure, there are people who can do the, oh, we can just be friends thing after a long-term relationship, but I think anyone being honest knows that that's not going to last for most people most of the time. You will need to cut ties for one or both of your sanity. But what about when it was just a casual hookup one time? You like this person, they are really cool. You vibe, you do fun things together, but maybe the sex isn't great, or you just don't have the same goals in the long term. It's not like you've bonded so hard that there's jealousy there, right? This is someone who could feasibly just go back into the friend category or just casually sleep with each other. Then time goes by. one or both of you are in a new relationship, now that continued friendship is probably less likely. Most people aren't going to be able to sell their new girlfriend or boyfriend on the person that they've
Only slept with a few times, and it's totally not like that.
However, imagine how easy it would be to have.
I will just tell you this because I was poly in Seattle, in San Diego, for like 10 years in Orange County. I was poly a while. I moved a lot, but I literally catch up every month with one of my homies from Seattle. And we've done a lot of threesomes together. We've slept together. We never dated, but we were lovers. And I never even think about it. Like, we talk about it, but like my partner never even thinks about it as weird. And I don't think about it as weird because our relationship is so healthy and like our friendship is so healthy. And our friendship was like, it was like we were so queer and, you know, poly and open, and we did so much together. We've known each other almost a decade now. And we just, it's a good friendship, you know? And I think it's so healthy that there's no jealousy or questioning, or my partner's not sitting there worried that I'm talking to this person. But I don't stay in contact with like my exes, like people I really romantically dated, because like there was just no ex I ever had that I thought was healthy enough to move into my present. But friends, for sure. Like lovers, for sure. Like homies that I happen to have sex with. Yeah. Like I'm still friends with some people like that. Because the relationship was good, you know? I think with exes, it was a little harder because the relationships weren't great. They ended badly. It would be inappropriate if we were still friends, honestly. Like it wasn't healthy enough. It didn't end well enough, you know? So
that friendship or more remain alive if you were open. Anytime you talk to someone who got around a bit during a certain period of their life, men and women, they will surely have someone that they think about as, wow, they were such a cool person, but we were never going to get married. The end of that relationship was...
I don't like these narratives that's like, I would have cheated if we were open, or I wish people could come into my life. Like, I personally don't think it's a healthy way to view it as like what could have been if we had a different label, instead of like, what will my life look like when it's healthy and stable and what I want it to look like? How do I find my joy? How do I connect with people that I love? And what actually works for my life? Like the reason I'm monogamous now is because I now really do believe in high compatibility partnerships. I didn't in my 20s. I didn't even know what that could have been. And so the chances of me meeting multiple people who can fulfill that role in this lifetime, not only are they very, very low, but it's just not a priority. So the first person I ran into who has this qualification is my high compatibility partner. They're monogamous and pretty strongly monogamous. And so when we were discussing how we would have our relationship, their opinion weighed harder because I was more indifferent. And I just thought about us being focused and like on high compatibility. So we know and we acknowledge, we both agree with this, that there are definitely people out there that are just as high compatible as we are with each other. We're just not going to engage or pursue them. And we're not going to make it a priority. And that makes sense for our life. We do very well together. We're very happy together. Yesterday we were watching One Piece, and, you know, I'm sitting there and he's sitting there and I'm just like, I wish my partner knew how, in contrast to my past relationships, like how good this relationship is, like how easy. And sometimes I forget, like, I feel like I've known them my whole life. Like sometimes I look at them and I'm like, how did I even have a life before you? Like, it's so easy. It's just the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, it's so comfortable. And I just keep thinking like, yeah, of course there are other people who could fulfill this. Absolutely. But I'm so content. It's like eating a really good meal and like trying to pursue another. It's like, I'm good, dude. I'm satisfied. That's how it feels in this relationship. Like, I don't want to pursue another relationship because I'm so satisfied. But also, if I wasn't satisfied, I feel like the last thing on my mind is pursuing another relationship. I would be concerned about the deterioration of this one I'm in. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting that when people are having a hard time in their relationship, their first thought is, I should see other people. Even when I was poly, the poly community used to joke that I was so monogamous because when my relationship was hard, I would like lock into my relationship and try to fix it. The last thing I wanted to do is see other people. But my partner, when it was harder, wanted to see other people. So the difference for me is like, when I care about the person I'm with, when I care about the health of the relationship, adding more people into it just seems very unhealthy. That just seems like a mess. Like, why would we add more people into a toxic situation? We should fix it. So it's just everyone is different about how they problem solve, but this is also a values difference too. Like, there's such a values difference at play here, you know?
Perhaps logical more than it was emotional. This is coincidentally one of the best arguments against hookup culture. This does end up stacking metaphorical idols in your mind that you may think about sometimes in comparison to your current partner. It is an unavoidable hazard of casual sex. It's even a consequence of too many failed relationships, if we're being honest. If your favorite food is mac and cheese, but that's all you've eaten, it's easy to say that. But if you go to 20 all-you-can-fuck buffet, 20 all-you-can-eat buffets, then it's, oh, I like the consistency of mac and cheese, but I like the flavor of peach cobbler, and I like the way tri-tip is down for any.
I don't think of people this way. I think of the consciousness and who I love. I never liked the way polyamorous or open relationship people talked about people this way. I do not like the idea that I used to think like this in my 20s, that if my partner didn't give me everything I needed, I could get it from someone else. I no longer see people that way. I see people as full characters in their stories. I honor them as the consciousness they are. And I no longer see my partners or somebody in my life as, oh, well, if I don't get it from you, I can get it from someone else. That's not how I view things anymore. I think it's like very dehumanizing, but it is a big talking point in these bubbles.
And it likes to let cornbread come over and join the plate sometimes. But it is much harder to end a relationship once sex is involved, and much easier to prolong a bad relationship if the sex is good.
From a scientific perspective, I think that it doesn't really make sense to have a poly relationship because of our ability to pair bond.
Pause. Don't say scientific perspective and give me no fucking data.
Now, these are these very specific receptors and hormones inside of our brain that are affected every single time that we enter a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship with an individual. And it's not mutually exclusive to either one of those things. And every time we enter one of those relationships, we get bonded to that person, and it gets harder and
this is not real.
Harder and harder to decouple after that original pair bond. And
why did boys in the metasphere pick up pair bonding like they know what the fuck is going on? We're not swans, bro. Okay, we are animals on a planet. We are biological creatures, but we obviously like all operate differently.
Single time after that, it gets harder to recouple with somebody else. So my thing is that
not true.
If we have difficulty, pair bonding with other people just after getting out of a single relationship, how hard is it when you're in a polycule or an open relationship to pair bond? How does that dull the ends of those nerves and fry those sensors inside of our heads? I can't imagine it does anything good.
A lot of people think open relationships are insane for the simple fact that there are going to be a lot of people where they shouldn't be. But what is even crazier than that is realizing how much of your information is being leaked on the internet where it shouldn't be, which is why I've partnered with the sponsor of this video, Aura. I get spam.
How did he get a sponsorship when he has 2 videos on the channel? See how these sponsorships are just paying people, which by the way, a sponsor did reach out to me earlier today and I laughed because I've seen this sponsorship on other people's videos. And I just started laughing because they're like, this is how much we pay per video. They're doing a lot of these sponsorships for like $500 to $1,000 to $5,000. And I get it, but like, see how I don't take sponsorships? Because I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good. And this is why you should like this video and go hype my podcast that I just posted. And you could hype 3 times a week. So if you want to use all your 3 hypes on my podcast video, I'd appreciate it. But also you can just hype once. Like it, leave a comment, fan fund, join Patreon, become a member.
Spam calls, texts, and emails every single day. Hundreds of them. It was getting so bad that I had to have my phone permanently on Do Not Disturb just to act as a little bit more of a barrier, but it still wasn't getting the job done. But this is what really freaked me out. If companies are selling it, that means anyone can find it. When I signed up for Aura, it showed me, I am not joking, nearly 200 different companies were listing and selling my personal information. My phone numbers, emails, addresses, things about my family, stuff that I had no idea people could find, let alone sell online. Some people might think, well, it's different, Andrew, you're a content creator, but I think a lot of people lull themselves into this false sense of security with that idea. This won't happen to me. I'm a nobody. It doesn't matter if you're working a 9 to 5, if you're someone just getting into content creation, if you're a creator or celebrity with millions of followers, or someone who's just part of a 15-person polycule. Know that your data is just as valuable as anyone else's. If somebody can profit from selling it, they will. Within minutes of me entering my removal request with Aura, I saw that massive number start dropping immediately. I looked at a lot of different companies before choosing Aura, but the simple fact was that nobody was doing nearly as much to protect your information on the internet. If you are on the internet, which you are if you're watching this video, then your online and personal security will get more and more important as time goes on. And the sooner that you start addressing it with Aura, the better. But to make things easier for all of you, Aura is offering my listeners a free 14-day trial at aura.com/Andrew Briggs. In those 2 weeks, Aura will get to work scrubbing your personal information off of these data broker sites. I should have done this years ago. Don't be like me. Click the link in the description to get started today, and I think you will be shocked by what you see. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it.
Theoretically, none of these problems exist in a non-monogamous relationship. So then the only real barrier is getting that approval in your primary relationship and finding a way to circumvent the
Wait, I don't remember what you were talking about. Why did you do an ad right there and then not tell me what you were talking about? He started off mid-sentence. How am I supposed to remember what he was talking about?
very deeply ingrained jealousy from years and years of mate and resource guarding being built into our psyches. It really cannot be overstated how strong anthropological and biological drives are from the male perspective to have paternal certainty to avoid, in evolutionary psychology terms, becoming a cuckold and unknowingly raising someone else's child. Sure, there are other ways to verify that.
What?
Being built into our psyches. It really cannot be overstated how strong anthropological and biological drives are from the male perspective to have paternal certainty to avoid, in
And then this B-roll suspicious. You know what I mean? Right? And from the male perspective is suspicious. Because as a man myself, I'm just telling you, not relatable.
Evolutionary psychology terms, becoming a cuckold and unknowingly raising someone else's child. Sure, there are other ways to verify that now with...
Who cares if you're raising someone else's child? The problem is, like, consent was broken. See how the language is like, you're such a cuck, you're raising someone else's kid? That poor child born into a family where the only male role model is such a loser, bro. Like, you were deceived. The focus should be on the deception of your partner. The conversation should be happy. Isn't that interesting how it's like, I don't want to raise someone else's bastard child. It's like, whoa, bro.
Modern science, but on the other end of that spectrum, women are mate guarding to be sure that a man isn't spending time.
Oh my God, I can't do this. Is this going to be the whole hour for the whole 2 hours? Oh my God, my Discord warned me it's a bad video, or they warned me it's intent. The language is so not rooted in data. This is such bullshit. This is pseudoscience. This is not real. This is not real. Oh my God.
Money, energy, resources on another woman and potentially having a child with another woman. Pulling again from anthropology. If a man is sleeping with you and then starts sleeping with...
Why does it say pulling from anthropology? What anthropology?
Another woman and both of you get pregnant, his resources are now split. And in ancient times, that could be a death sentence for the one of you that he doesn't pick. I even had a friend...
Why don't you guys actually just go to school? Why don't you guys just actually, I don't know, actually be interested in topics? This is such, there's so many interesting things about existing. Being a human being is so interesting and complex and beautiful, and we are so much better than we could ever imagine. And the only thing y'all ever settle for is the most bullshit pseudoscience ever to make your goddamn points that are nothing.
Recently tell me about something like this happening in her polyamorous relationship. Tara is in a relationship with Mark. Mark used to have Michelle as his primary partner, but they're a little bit more casual now and seemingly on the way out. Apparently there is some open relationship social media website that kind of has a top 8 on it, like MySpace, where you can organize your polycule and put it on display. So keep in mind, Mark and Michelle were on the way out. She was the one who ended it. Tara then gets moved into the primary partner slot. How do you think Michelle reacted? The power dynamics in this relationship just changed. She obviously didn't take it well. So what did Mark do? He took her to a nice dinner to quell her feelings. But how did that make Tara feel? Upset. Because Mike just spent a ton of money on a nice dinner for Michelle, and he rarely does that for her. Resource division. So in essence, non-mons are trying to override millions of years of evolution that says, make sure that person isn't sleeping with any competition.
The video started off so strong and so open-minded, and then it just evolved so quickly. I feel like I'm literally, my brain is frying. Okay, as a person who's read so many books on polyamory and did it for 10 years, you can have a deeper relationship with your biological experience, and you are not beholden to a lot of these biological limiters that you think you are, or limitations. And yes, though some things are, can't be introspected past, like a broken leg, you can still, go to the hospital and get it mended. A lot of these relationships, when we talk about division of resources, is also from a patriarchal lens of like the male buying someone dinner without ever considering that the whole process of like men being the primary caretaker should also be deconstructed, or not caretakers, but providers should be deconstructed. So like just the dynamic of it is so weird. Like oh, like he is the breadwinner and he's going to buy her dinner and that makes her sad. And this is like, patriarchy isn't like, everything we do is biological, but nothing is set in stone if we can have a deeper relationship with our biological experience. Like, it's just such a silly narrative. Like, it doesn't, it's so reductive. This is the problem, is like this. Okay, now I feel bad. So now I genuinely feel, without tooting my own horn, like I am talking to a person in middle school and I don't know what to do. Because if I keep watching this video, then it's just going to be us like making fun of a guy with an education that a middle schooler has, like from TikTok. Because even if this man told me right now he has a PhD in something, I'd be like, okay, Jordan Peterson, all these, what are we going to do without all these men, these women with lipstick on? Oh my goodness, the rouge on their cheeks means they're fucking horny and shit, you know, man? It's like, bro, I don't even know what's happening right now. Okay, let's give it a chance. Oh, fuck.
And giving away the things that I am entitled to. It doesn't matter that we have modern safeguards or loopholes for these things. Our brain doesn't care. And if we were being honest, a relationship with zero jealousy feels weird. How many book talk books are there where women are just gooning over some guy that's a little too possessive, you know?
He's not a bad guy. He's just done bad things. But I have to back him on it.
You're just saying we're also traumatized and fucked up, that this should be the base expectation of human behavior. And I'm saying, no, that base you keep like going back to, is base the word I want? That thing is not, that's like our animal brain. You're like going down to our monkey brain and you're like, that's just how humans are. And I'm saying, no, like you're saying like, you know, men will say, oh, it's just biological that we want to fuck kids. And I'm like, okay, no, but everything is biological. Everything you do is biological because you're a biological creature, but not everything is set in stone the way you're making it sound. Like, I am not a jealous person. I do not really experience jealousy. And my partner can be a testament to this. My friends and family can be a testament to this. Jealousy is like the fear of losing something. Envy, the fear of wanting something. Like, I don't really feel these feelings. Now, it might be because I'm autistic, or it might be because I'm, philosophically minded, or it might be because I just haven't had the opportunity. It's not to say that I haven't felt feelings, but as a person who's like really interested in these concepts, I just don't identify with the way people talk about it. But that's probably also because I'm a Taurus. You know what I mean? So I think it's like, there's nothing wrong with being jealous. First of all, it's a very human emotion. It's normal. The question is, did you deconstruct your jealousy? Because why are you jealous? It's always rooted in something. Everything is rooted in something, but it's not always what he thinks it is. So like his rigidity of like women like toxic men in books. So there you go. Yeah, girl, it's called like healing and going to therapy and also realizing like fiction is fiction. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what I'm saying. This is so reductive. I haven't watched a video like this in a long time. I feel like my brain is breaking. It's so reductive. It feels like I'm starting off on the most 101. Wow. The video quality and production is crazy good, but then, oh man. And guys, a lot of people in poly relationships are toxic as fuck because they come from monogamous culture, and monogamous people are toxic as fuck. Everyone's cheating. You know, sexual assault is rampant. Like, everyone's in bad relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, poly people aren't going to be exempt from this. It's just interesting that you could have the same amount of energy towards monogamy, but you never do videos like that. And it's because you're acting like poly or monogamy is a one-size-fits-all fix. It's not. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a way people have decided to do things under patriarchy and the way we're trained. But like, we haven't even started to ask, like, our parents haven't even gone to therapy yet. You know what I mean? Like, we're still breaking generational curses out here. People are still racist and homophobic, you know? Like, we haven't even started to really deconstruct our own biological experience. We can't even agree that skin color is neutral. Like, I literally cannot even get the world to agree we shouldn't be racist. And you're out sitting here like, actually, like, scientifically speaking, it's like, girl,
I'm sorry.
Book talk might actually be a fun idea for a future video. I already had it blow up once on TikTok.
Book talk. Women are all collectively gooning on a level that nobody has ever seen. I know a book talk author. I see women at the gym reading this shit on the treadmills.
How many men out there are drooling over these territories?
Yeah, bro, women are horny too. Wow, amazing. I can't believe you live in a bubble where you think women still don't get horny. Hello? What is this, the 1800s? Yeah, bro, women masturbate.
Eastern European women and Latinas.
Just European women are different.
Lack of jealousy in a weird way almost feels like lack of passion for a relationship. And it seems like our brains know that. We want to ignore our base instincts, and we can to an extent, but they're still there. So this begs such an obvious question. Given that you must overcome jealousy to make non-monogamy work, how well are they managing it? What are they doing to manage it?
Why is it that we often feel jealous?
Jealousy.
Jealousy and polyamory.
Jealousy.
Jealousy.
What is the role of jealousy in our relationship?
In an open relationship and feeling jealousy.
No relationship is without jealousy. That includes monogamous ones. But like I said, I don't think it shouldn't.
That's not true. To say no relationship is without jealousy is not technically true, but is probable because we're raised in an environment where we don't grow up stable. We're not healthy. It's okay. You have to work on it though.
Exist. An aim to never be jealous is like aiming to never be sad or angry. It's an emotion.
Sure, I agree with this. That jealousy is just an emotion. It's not a big deal.
But I don't think people should intentionally throw themselves into situations that will evoke emotions that might be perceived as bad by them. Let's say, for example, you are very anti-Second Amendment. I don't think that you should go to an NRA meeting. It will make you mad. Now, let's say that you are the product of millions of years of evolution, which created the emotion of jealousy. I don't think that it makes sense to introduce a jealousy-inducing variable into your relationship unless your goal is to pressure test that. Remember that I said that. That's going to be important. I'm doing what I can to stay balanced on this, but when I saw how much trying to manage jealousy came up in these circles, oh my God, this meme was my exact experience.
So yeah, doing things like, I agree you should have discernment and be wise, but I disagree with the idea that that he couldn't find the same information on monogamy. Look, do I think most people are successful at monogamy? No. Do I think most people are successful at poly? No. Do I think most people are successful at romantic relationships? No. Next question. We have to start with the premise. Most people are bad at relationships. You are bad at romantic relationships. Let's start there. And then we can talk about poly. It's like we're starting at poly as if poly isn't just like another way to do relationships, which we are all bad at, until you're better at it.
I joined several different non-mon support groups and threads for a few days while writing this, and it felt like every other day somebody is writing something to try.
True, Discord said balance is usually code for centrism. Yeah, he's trying to play both sides, but that's the problem because he is a centrist. Like you can tell he hasn't deconstructed. He thinks it's a big deal that women are horny. Do you know what I mean? There's a whole bubble, guys, where they believe women seriously don't get horny. They think only men get horny. Just remember that. It's been like 20 years since I've been in these bubbles where people literally think this, but that's what he's saying. When he's like, oh, I went viral on Book Talk because I pointed out that women get horny. Yeah. I literally keep my vibrator by my bed. I have to remember to put it away when guests come over. And like, what's your point, dude? Yeah, like people get horny. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you.
To address their jealousy, like, oh, my partner came home and they looked so happy and excited, and in the community's defense.
Did he learn what compersion means? How about compersion? When you're actually happy and excited to see your partner fulfilled and happy in their relationship with their other partners, right?
Many are quick to say that that is basically a make or break. If you can't get past jealousy, you won't be able to be a non-mon.
If you can't get past jealousy, you're probably not going to have a healthy monogamous relationship either.
This is going to come up a lot in this video. And in their aim to help, the comments are usually linked with an article, a video, a personal anecdote. It's actually quite nice to see. It's a very supportive group. But as there is in any community or niche, there is also the authorities or the content creators, and the authors, etc. And as fun as I think it would be to spend $400 on some course made by some people who ended up splitting up because their needs weren't getting met, I just think it would be easier to not add that variable to one of my relationships personally. I really do think that invalidates your course at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Having a course on how to be poly is, first of all, very scammy. And second of all, it's very different. Like trying to sell, I think like in general, selling courses on how to have healthy romantic relationships is pretty scummy, because I think you actually should be talking to professionals who talk about your traumas and your mental health and stuff like that. So I actually think you should be going to your therapists and family counselors. Like, I don't actually think you should take a course on relationship dynamics, because ultimately this is all connected to our trauma and our relationship with our families and social structures. And I think that's the problem, is we keep taking courses instead of going to therapists. And you can't just go to any therapist. You have to go to a therapist who actually knows what they're talking about. And you have to go to somebody who has your similar values. So, you know what I'm saying? And again, do we love the person that we're with because of the consciousness that they are, that we have shared values? Or do we like the person that we're with because they're hot?
But hey, maybe it's helping some folks. I'm going to really frame this for you guys, okay? One of the largest polyamory subreddits with over 410,000 members, they average 12 questions every 24 hours about jealousy. The non-monogamy subreddit with 171,000 members averages 2 questions about jealousy every 24 hours. When you compare that to the dating subreddit.
That's because polyamory people are actually talking about jealousy when monogamous people aren't. Poly people talk about jealousy because it's a form of liberation to say that they are jealous. Monogamous people never admit they're jealous, which is why they aren't liberated enough to talk about it because they can't. I never heard so much about jealousy in my life until I started doing polyamory. And that's because it was actually a safe space to talk about it for once in our lives. Nobody is allowed to talk about jealousy in monogamy because in monogamy, you're not even allowed to look at other people and think they're attractive in some bubbles. In some bubbles, they're so jealous, but they won't talk about it that if their partner even thinks a celebrity is attractive, they get mad. That's called jealousy because you're afraid you're going to lose that person, right? So it feels a little bit like you're missing the point of why. It feels very much like, why is everyone autistic all of a sudden? Because we're literally getting diagnosed more. No, that's not it. People must be faking. It's like, okay, are you not the doctors who are up to diagnosing? It's funny that you blame the clients for getting diagnosed and not the professionals for diagnosing them. Look, if you are misdiagnosing me, you're in trouble, sir. Okay? I was diagnosed by a professional. 2 doctors diagnosed me. So y'all are responsible for diagnosing me. And by the way, I told them that. I said, hey, make sure you're diagnosing me for real, because this is very serious. Am I autistic or not? Because even though I think I might be, you're the doctors. Tell me what's up. You know what I mean? Tell me what's up. Okay. And they're like, girl, autistic. And I was like, okay. Like, that's the thing, right? So it's like, yeah, of course I'm autistic. Like and then the whole thing is like, oh, you should do it the right way. Don't self-diagnose. And then you do it the right way and they're like, they're just diagnosing everyone autistic now. It's like, bro, you can't win.
With 6.2 million members, there are 3 questions about
Hold on.
being sub.
Let me look at this.
12 questions. Largest polyamory subreddits with over 4.
This is the largest polyamory subreddit and only has 7 comments 3 hours ago, 9 comments 22 hours ago, 8 comments 6 hours ago, 12 comments, 38 comments, 400,000 followers. Okay.
410,000 members, 171,000.
34 comments, 2 comments. It's not very active. Yeah, it's not a very active Reddit.
Members averages 2 questions about jealousy every 24 hours. When you compare that to the dating subreddit with 6.2 million members, there are 3 questions about jealousy.
Wait, YouTube chat says I don't believe in monogamy, but I understand there are healthy relationships. I also think you need to make a decision about being monogamous. What do you mean you don't believe in monogamy? It's not up for debate. It exists. That's like saying I don't believe in trans people. Like you don't, it's not up to you. Can you expand on that so I know what you mean? It just sounds funny when you say like, I don't believe in monogamy. It's like, you don't have to, it exists. You know what I mean? Do you mean that, like, yeah, I'm being autistic about this because I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. Could you explain it?
Jealousy every 24 hours.
Oh, Chad says, I don't think it's natural. I mean, oh. I was like, you don't believe in it. Oh, you don't think it's natural? Oh, I think everything we do is natural. How do you decide what's natural or not natural? Because I think skyscrapers are natural, right? I believe they're monogamous relationships because I've been married. I don't know what that means. I think everything's natural. Like everything we do is natural. Monogamy and polyamory are both as natural as anything else. Interesting. Okay.
I'm not going to bore you guys with the math, but that means that if we combine the poly and non-monogamy subreddits versus the dating one, you are 50.
And that's okay, Chad. That's okay. I don't mean to you said I'm not communicating good. That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. I just was curious.
Times as likely to be experiencing jealousy bad enough that you needed to post about it on Reddit. But again, that is exactly.
Well, you're going to online forums where people are talking. This feels like confirmation bias. How do you decide? This is so interesting. I'm going to really struggle getting through this video, guys. Honestly, I feel my brain melting. But I feel like it's, you know what? I'm just going to let him talk. You know what?
Exactly what they tell you is going to happen before going non-monogamous. You will be jealous. This is the metaphorical cross that you will bear. It is actively encouraged to talk about jealousy as often as you can as a way to work through it. This is known. But what do you hear about when people discuss marriage? What is the common struggle after 20, 40, 60 years of marriage? Not getting bored. I searched up the word bored in the non-monogamy and polyamory subreddits, and it didn't come up a single time
interesting.
in 24 hours. When I clicked the 1 month filter, it still wasn't nearly enough to match the marriage subreddit. So we're going to skip the math here again. You are 34.6 times less likely to be bored if you choose to be non-monogamous. For better or worse, this kind of feels like a pick your poison sort of thing. I think that's a common thread that you'll notice through this whole video. That being
interesting. That was a little bit more interesting.
Being said, here's a question I honestly just can't get to the bottom of. Boredom will happen. That is a part of life. That is a feature.
Interesting. Chad says, okay, it's natural. What I was trying to say is I don't think it's necessary for survival or having healthy relationships. Oh, hard agree, girl. No, I agree with you there. Yeah, definitely. Monogamy is just, definitely agree with you there. Yeah. Definitely agree with you there.
Of life. But it's not as if monos are just sitting in a room in silence after 40 years of marriage, you know? I mean, maybe some of them are, but in terms of jealousy, why would you bother with doing something that is this counter your intuition? You are literally weakening your ability to follow your gut. Not every time, but often.
Oh, you're not supposed to follow your gut. Your gut is trained by your trauma and your lived experiences. So though intuitively you can make good decisions, generally speaking, you actually don't want to rely on your gut because it actually can be like misleading. You want to rely on good data. And your goal should be to be healthy and deconstructed. So then you should put together good data to get to a good conclusion.
If your gut feels off about something, there's a reason. This is akin to meeting someone in a dark alley and them saying, hey, don't worry, I'm not going to stab you. Then you say, well, I don't want to be rude.
Yeah, but that's not your gut. That's your data noticing that you're in a dark alley with a person who feels suspicious. That's just like good data gathering. Your intuition might feel like something is off, but the truth is like, it's just data. It's data that your subconscious is processing, but your brain, you have to sparse the data, like go through the data and make sure what's correct and not correct, right?
Maybe I need to start doing the work, as they all say. No, you should be rude and you should follow your intuition. And if you don't know how to do that, you should go buy the book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker.
Oh. Is an American security specialist and author. He worked for governments, large corporations, and public figures. National leading expert in protection of public figures. His work in the prediction and prevention of violence has earned him 3 presidential appointments. What the fuck?
I have linked it down in my bio. I do get paid if you click that link, but I've literally bought dozens of copies of that book for so many people. It is a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it enough. I need to tell you guys a story about an old buddy of mine who we will call Tyler. Tyler was in a 5-year-long relationship with a gal named Savannah. And at some point during this relationship, Tyler realized that he was bi and he had never explored this. Then enters a friend, Alan, and wherever you think this story is going to go, you are wrong. Alan was basically the non-monogamy guy where I was from, and he was a fucking snake. To this day, I despise that man for how many people he did this exact thing to. Most people might have seen what they were going through in their relationship and thought, well, that's a problem that you can work through. Alan, however, saw that as a chink in their relationship's armor and suggested that they open things up so that Tyler could explore, but not with Alan. No. Alan was straight. If they open it up, Savannah could also explore. With Alan, cue Savannah coming home after a night together, covered in bruises, because for some reason, non-monogamy relationships are almost always steeped in some kink shit, which you already know I'm going to be talking about later. Tyler has a fucking mental breakdown. They end up splitting, and if I'm being honest, I don't think Tyler ever really came back from that, realizing that he let another man fuck his girlfriend. Later, it became known around town that this was just Alan's game. It was what he did. He liked the power play of it. It's weird shit. He did eventually end up getting what was coming to him, but if I was any more specific, you guys would be able to Google and identify him. So the part that I left out, I remember Tyler talking to me and a couple of our friends before they decided to go non-monogamous and saying how he felt something was just off about this. And we all said, you should trust your gut. But he didn't. Some people do use this lifestyle in a predatory fashion. How often do you hear about relationships where only one person is interested in opening things and then lo and behold, they already had somebody lined up in their head? Open relationships being used as a vehicle of socially acceptable cheating are way, way too common. And because they are okay in the public view as a relationship dynamic, they are much harder to push back on because the person pushing back is just seen as, the keyword, jealous. I think one of the saddest stories that I'd seen in one of these threads was this guy that agreed to trying out an open relationship, but said not with that guy that she had already once expressed interest in, and she threw a fit. 24 hours later, they split up. Nobody in this thread was surprised, not even the non-monogamous folks. But relationships have a level of social enforcement that I think people really take for granted. To share another real story, I knew a guy named Mike that was in a relationship with his wife, May, and they had, as is always suggested, a lot of rules and communication around what was and was not permitted in this open relationship dynamic. But it was well known that they were open. So if you saw May out with a guy or Mike out with some gal, you weren't immediately saddled with the guilt of like, oh my God, how do I tell them that they're being cheated on? So what ends up happening when someone is breaking the rule and the community doesn't know? The social enforcement of fidelity is gone. So when May was out having an entire other relationship with someone, Mike didn't know about it. When people saw May at dinner with another man, why would anyone think something was amiss? This went on for months because the unspoken social contract had already been broken. So for anyone who might be curious about this lifestyle, let me ask you this. Why is your gut telling you to be jealous and to not do that? Name any other time where you would ignore your gut and join support groups specifically instructing you to ignore those base instincts. This isn't as if you're learning to be a better partner because you've
I don't know what to do with this video. I'm so deeply at a loss. I feel like he has thrown a whole pile of shit at me, and there's like, I'm supposed to weed through the shit to even, I can't even, my brain is fried. I don't know what to do with this. Like, it's really, I cannot, you know what I mean? Like, hold on. I literally feel like my brain just melted. Yeah, Chad said he's painfully a cis white straight man. Bro, he's so painfully. Where do you live? What bubble are you in, bro? He's so painfully uneducated that it's weird because he did all this research and he has all these words, but he's so like, it's like what's the word? I'm trying to be so nice. It's like, yeah, it's confirmation bias for sure. But he's so like, he's like a kid, bro. I don't know how to explain it to you without sounding so much more condescending than that. But it's like a kid. Okay. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, he's like, I'm trying to think of a stupid example. If a boy wears pink, how will I know he's a boy? If a girl has short hair, how will I know it's a girl? You know, that's what it sounds like to me, where I'm like, huh? He's like, I don't like to hang out with friends who have better bikes than me, because if my friend has a better bike than me, then I might want his bike. And I don't want to be jealous of my friend. So I just don't have friends that have better bikes than me. It's like, dude, that's what it sounds like. We're like, huh? Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm in a conversation with someone who's like, if the earth is round, then why do I feel like I'm on flat earth? It's like, what? You know, that's what I want it to be so, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be so good faith. It's almost like I don't want to talk to him. Don't DM me. Leave me alone, white man. But in my head, I was like, man, if I could talk to him, then I could pull all of his points apart. We could deconstruct them together and really examine them. But because he's throwing so much at me and all of it's wrong, I can't even stop. Like, we're 23 minutes into this hour and 40-minute video. Like, I could write 17 books on just the misinformation in this first 23-minute video. So then it's like, how do I pull it apart? You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. I'm exhausted.
Got misguided jealousy because maybe you were cheated on in a last relationship. This is dismantling your intuition. And if somebody can break that, they can break more. If someone can convince you to let them sleep with your partner, what can't you be convinced of? I don't want to take this down a dark path, so I'll make this quick. When I was getting molested as a kid, it wasn't bang, now you're getting molested. It started with a slow, methodical breakdown of barriers.
Pause. Habibi, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, so our boy has been traumatized. I feel you. I empathize. That's devastating, right? He's worried that that's going to happen again. This is why we have to deconstruct and go to therapy and learn. Okay, I'm sorry that happened to him as a kid. That's fucking devastating. I think from a trauma perspective, I see the correlation he's making, right? His brain is saying, and this is why I say, guys, please hear me when I say this. This is why I say all of us are traumatized. Your bigotry is rooted in trauma. Your hate and disdain for other people is rooted in trauma. As much as you don't think it is, it is. That's why our parents who are homophobic are often parents who have either been molested or they know someone who's been molested. And so they think all gay people are molesters. I'm so sorry this happened to you. It has nothing to do with other things. This is why we can, yes, speak from our own experience, but we shouldn't project it on a whole group of people. Because again, your intuition that you're trying to solidify, yes, your intuition might be telling you something, your gut might be telling you something, but you still need the wisdom and discernment to say, what is it telling me? Is it something rooted in something that isn't true? Because you can also have a situation where you're in a perfectly healthy relationship and you're triggered from something in your past and you convince yourself it's not just like past shit, right? So like you have to have the wisdom and discernment to say, okay, is this actually happening or do I think it's happening? Because it could be either or, and you have to have a safe space where you can even express that. Look, as a person who was cheated on when I was in a poly relationship, listen, it could have been so obvious to me. In hindsight, it's so obvious to me that was going to happen. But you know what's even more obvious to me is that it's really just about how traumatized people are and how valueless they are. They don't have values, right? So that's really the problem is we don't have values. We don't have morals or ethics. So, you know, it's not... Any manipulation of any form can occur no matter what you're in, monogamous or otherwise. We know abuse is rampant in monogamous relationships. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be monogamous, okay? You know, we know parents molest and rape their own children. It doesn't mean people shouldn't be parents. You know, we know a lot of things about people. We know things happen. It doesn't mean that people shouldn't be in these dynamics. These things shouldn't be happening. So, you know, I deeply empathize with the fact that he's traumatized, but I also think it's very dangerous to assume that because something happened, right, that, you know, that it counts for this whole group of people, right? Chat said, how can you tell if your gut's rooted in wisdom or fear? In the moment, it always feels like wise to trust instinct, but it's not always true. I would say this. Wisdom and discernment is based off of actual lived experience and data. Intuition and gut are things you feel in your body, but don't have the explanation for. So yes, if your intuition or gut is telling you something, you can just side on caution and be more cautionary, but it's not actually telling you anything. You still have to discern what it means. Okay, you still have to do the work. So what I'll say is, hey, I'm not feeling good about the situation. I don't know why yet, but I'm just going to pull back and then think about it and I'll come back with an answer. Because if I feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that the uncomfortability is telling me what I think it's telling me, right? Maybe it's telling me something else. Because sometimes, you know, again, this physiological thing that's happening doesn't necessarily give us enough of the information. So yes, you can train your intuition to be a little bit better, but realistically, you're a biological creature experiencing things. And it really requires your full activity, full engagement to really come to a good conclusion. You know, otherwise you end up like this. You don't want to end up with his conclusions. I think that's the problem. Is like, you don't want to say like, my intuition tells me this about polyamory, so I'm going to come to this conclusion. Okay.
Experiences, and then asking me to tell myself that it was okay. It started as grabbing my crotch and saying, that was funny. That's just how guys play though. So I'm going to repeat this. If someone can get you to ignore base instincts, what else can they make you second guess? Your mental muscle is literally being systematically broken down. And once that happens, it is easier to do it every single time.
Habibi is just describing abuse. He's describing predatory behavior that is abuse. Anyone can abuse you at any point, no matter if they're your boss or the president of the United States or a police officer or a teacher or your polyamorous partner. Anybody can abuse you. You are describing abuse. You're literally, yes, he's talking about grooming. You are literally describing grooming. Habibi, I am so sorry this happened to you, but this is why you should know terminology and know the science behind it, because you are experiencing something so real. But anybody can be your groomer, not just poly people.
Someone can convince you to give them $1, they could convince you to give them 5 or 10 or 20 or
See, he knows it. He just gave an example about money.
100. It is just a matter of time. Call it.
See, you don't want to live in fear, though. You want to live in wisdom. He is acting out of fear, and I'm saying act out of wisdom. Don't be afraid. Be wise.
A foot in the door, grooming, gradual desensitization.
Oh, he used the word grooming.
Or TikTok's favorite word, normalizing behavior. Yes, jealousy and predation and lying all exist in monogamy, but there are intentional actions taken in these non-monogamous relationships that enable and poke at these things. The majority of worry from the monos is that
he's talking about when poly people tell you to deconstruct your jealousy. Yeah, but if they're healthy, you should deconstruct your jealousy. If they're unhealthy, they're doing it as a way to get away with stuff. Unhealthy, healthy can look like the same action, but the why behind it is what's different here.
They see how it can be weaponized. Despite how much detailed communication there ostensibly is in these relationships, there are way more opportunities to break these agreements. When I get married, I will not be alone in a room with another woman that is not my family out of extenuating circumstances. It will
Is our boy Mormon? Is he Catholic? Is he religious?
Will be a physical impossibility that I do anything illicit with another woman. If I were in an open relationship, the possibilities are literally endless, regardless of spoken boundaries.
Okay, he's like a full-on conservative. I get it. I have conservative brothers, and, you know, because of their lack of deconstruction, they also aren't in the room alone with female friends. But, you know, I'm in a deconstructed genderless marriage. So like we have opposite sex friends, we have same sex friends, we have all kinds of gendered friends. So like if you do not deconstruct and you stay in a toxic cycle of believing that gender dictates action, then sure, you have to do these things because you guys are not deconstructed or healed. That's the problem with conservatives, is like you can't have friends of the opposite gender because you literally won't allow yourself to humanize people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so sorry that's happening to you, but like this can be changed. You can literally fix this. This does not have to be your life. You can literally have a completely different relationship with reality if you wanted to, but this is where you've decided to stay and this is where you will die. But this is a choice. Well, is it a choice? Does he have free will? That's the question. This is a philosophy channel. Does he actually have the free will to engage with another reality? Probably not, because he's probably already assigned himself to a construct that won't allow him to deconstruct it because he's already decided this is the truth. And because he decided this is the truth, he actually doesn't have the ability to interact with his free will in order to move on this action. So he can't extrospect further than this. I told my brother this the other day. I was like, you are choosing, because you won't deconstruct your religion, to stay in this bubble in which you are denying yourself this relationship, but it is not objective. And he's like, it is objective. This is why XYZ happens. No, that is not true. These things only happen because you're doing this. And I'm saying you could have a different relationship with self. Again, my partner, myself, we are a genderless marriage. We do not engage in gender dynamics or gender roles. And we have all friends of different genders. And I am so happy every day that I am that I am married to somebody who is so wise and deconstructed. Well, wise, we're both working on our wisdom. Hold on, girls here. We are so willing to engage with deconstruction in order to seek wisdom, in order to maintain a healthy relationship in which people are more than their gender. You are more than your skin color. You are more than your gender. If you cannot deconstruct gender, you're not going to be able to deconstruct race. Okay? If you see women and men as inherently XYZ because of gender, you probably think that about people's skin color and you don't even know it. Because again, you're playing with the same rules. The fundamental rules apply. Nothing about your gender tells me much about you as a character, your personality, who you are as a person, and nothing about your skin color does either. So basically him saying he won't be alone in a room with a woman is like him saying he won't be alone in the room with a brown person. Why? It doesn't make sense. But in his head, it sounds like it makes so much sense to him because he's attributing action to gender. He's saying, no, if a woman's in a room with me, this will happen. Why? But why would that happen? Oh, because I find women attractive. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? And this is why I say racism and patriarchy, they're like fucking kissing cousins, bro. Okay? This is why patriarchy is mostly dominated by white supremacy as well. You know what I mean? That's why like we have to talk about these things, but it's confusing for people because they're not, there's so much healing that has to happen. I feel so bad for his child self. Like I feel so deeply sick to my stomach that this man was traumatized and victimized and groomed and is so unhealed that it is going to impact how he views this community and other people. But like, that is so many people's stories, isn't it? Are we all just like traumatized people existing in the world and projecting it onto other people? We really are a suffering population. We really are suffering so fucking deeply. Jesus Christ. Oh, my heart goes out to him, truly.
But just a real quick pause on that. This theoretical example is the extreme of what is possible with less clear safeguards and is not at all representative of most non-monogamous people.
My opinion is that open relationships and polyromantic relationships work on paper, but in real life it needs a ton of communication, honesty, and sincerity. I hear stories of failed open relationships because somebody ended up cheating or projecting. Open relationships, just like other relationships, needs the people involved to work hard and still sacrifice something to make it work.
But in defense of non-monogamous people, they all make a point that you should over-communicate with your partner.
So just to be clear, Chad says the fact that you agree he's attributing these things, it makes me not want to sympathy for patriarchal racists. I don't sympathize with him. Projecting it onto others is pathetic. I think you're new to my channel, maybe. So we do philosophy through pop culture here. So you can have your opinion, which is fine. You don't have to sympathize or empathize with anybody. Also, my job is to humanize everybody, deconstruct, and like see where they're coming from. So obviously I fundamentally disagree with this guy, right? I can see where it's coming from. That doesn't take away my ability to empathize with his child self who was molested and groomed, right? Like if you can't empathize with his child self, that's a reflection of your character. I am not empathizing with his adult self. I am empathizing with his kid self, the kid that was molested. Like I am deeply in agony for the idea that he was so hurt as a child. Like that's who I am so sad for. His adult self, I am obviously more critical of and still sympathetic to the struggle, but lacking more empathy there because I don't have to empathize with his adult self, right? But his child self, right, girlies? Like his kid self, that kid. Because again, we're so stunted by our trauma that's the part of it that I want you to empathize with. Imagine he's a child. Go ahead, imagine a kid getting molested and tell me you don't feel bad. Kind of weird that you don't feel bad.
Over communicating.
We spent probably a good 5 hours a week processing our emotions together.
So much so that at times it feels like its own language or slang. If
Well, it is its own language. Chad says, ad popped up while you were talking. Oh no, I can empathize with his kid self. I just don't care about his real self now is a problem. Oh yeah, for sure. All that trauma doesn't make your actions valid. It's not that the actions are valid, but we explain the actions and then we deconstruct. His actions aren't valid. They're just the reality. The world is a reflection of us as a whole. And the reality is until we deconstruct our own actions and our traumas, the world will continue to suffer unwisely. He is continuing to suffer unwisely. Yes. But that's because he will not reflect, right? So we're explaining why he did these things. We're not making an excuse for it, okay? We're just explaining how it happens so we can prevent it in future babies, right?
There's been any net positive from this movement, it is absolutely that. They really over-communicate to a near nauseating degree. It is impressive, which leads me to the next question. Why do people in open relationships always talk like that?
The emotion just...
The same reason you talk the way you do and we hear buzzwords and we're like, oh, we know what bubble he's in, right? The same reason we look at you and go, oh, I know what he watches and what he reads and like who he is, because we're all like that. We use different words to identify with different bubbles. And yes, by the way, there is a lot of shitty people in the polyamorous bubbles, but I'm telling you, it's no more interesting or exaggerated than it is in monogamous ones. Everyone's shitty.
Yeah. It goes down by at least half.
We lived in a matriarchal society.
Yes, we did.
We worshipped the great mother.
Yeah.
Every man has a different expression.
Okay, he is showing like the worst people on the internet. To be fair, Teal Swan is like the horrible person, right? Incredibly traumatized, bad person. That's the other part. It's like, I agree these are just bad people, you know?
Of this divine masculine energy.
Why am I feeling this? What was the trigger?
How to heal your feminine. Yeah, guys, this is just a particular bubble of poly. You know remember those normie poly people we saw too? Look, every group has a subcategory of like, there's like Nazi furries and then there's family furries. Every furry community is different too. Hold on. Poly house. Do you guys remember the poly people who did finances together? And they were so normie, I was dying. They weren't kinky or BDSM or furry, and I was laughing. And by the way, I've done kink like for like how long? Oh, 15 plus years. You know what I mean? Like, I love BDSM. I think it's great. I think it's a great bubble. And yeah, they're a little unorthodox, but no more than any like Pokemon fan. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, again, the problem with these things is like we're blaming the communities instead of acknowledging that like bad behavior exists everywhere. Because, like, I can agree with him. These people are obnoxious. But, like, it's not because they're poly.
Your journey to healing your feminine energy.
It is so unique that I have given it its own name. Polyglot. That is a really funny pun, and you guys better tell me so in the comments. Let me give you guys a quick example, okay?
So I've really been sitting here feeling so activated, and I realized that I wasn't feeling fully chosen in our connection. Like, I get that love is infinite.
Hold on. Chat said calling him pathetic or weakling isn't nice. I mean, he is weak of character, and he is a bit pathetic. Right? So, like, I'm not mad that this chatter is feeling passionate towards him, but I would just say, like, you know what I mean? He is a bit pathetic, isn't he? You know, like, he, like, you know what I'm saying? He put all this effort into making this video and doing all this research, But like, did he read Ethical Slut? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Which, by the way, a lot of people do read that book and still come away with horrible, unethical practices of non-monogamy. I knew a guy who yelled at me, right? Like, he yelled at me for the way he practiced non-monogamy. He's like, I don't understand why you don't approve of it. And I was like, I just don't think it's healthy, bro. And he was like, why? If it can be whatever I want, what does it matter? You know? Chad said, fuck being nice to pathetic losers. Okay, I will say you do sound a bit wee harsh, my girlfriend. Okay, you sound a way bit harsh in it. Like you sound a little, you know, the vibe of this community is like a little sassy more than like cruel. And you do sound a little bit like you have a chip on your shoulder, just a bit. Okay, like a little bit. I don't know how you find my content, how you found it, but you do sound a little bit like, you know what I mean? And I get it. Okay, I get it. But like, we are trying to actually like, you know, we are trying to be like more like kind and compassionate. You know, Chad said, why do you care how harsh I am to the other chatter? Because this community here is a philosophy community. We're trying to actually like be better and try to be less bad every day. And it sounds like you're saying I'm allowed to be mean and kind of like aggressive because the world is mean. And I'm saying absolutely your feelings are valid, but not in my chat necessarily. Like my chat tends to be very kind. And, you know, right? You said I can be as harsh as I want to, though. You're right to be empathetic. I'm not changing my harshness towards corrupt people. I feel you, but maybe not in my chat then, right? Because it feels like you're more angry than justice seeking. Be angry for the world, not at the world. It sounds like you're angry at the world, and we're trying to focus on being angry for the world. Be angry because people are suffering because of corruption, not angry at the world. Right? You know what I mean? Like we want people to focus on healing and not taking it out on the world. And I get you, right? Like I go crazy. I go so harsh. I was really critical of this man. But that's all that the chat is just saying. You're uniquely, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not in a position of power. He's just some guy who's making a YouTube video. But also I get you. Like I feel like I was so harsh to him in the beginning. Wasn't I mean to him in the beginning? I feel like I was really harsh. I'm trying to be honest and like really empathetic to like where his position is. Like when I say like, it's kind of like talking to a kid, I mean that like in the most like literal way. You know what I mean? Where like, I want to help him understand, but I also know like he's so far, like I don't even know where to start. It's like, I don't even know how to start. I never like, cause I make content for adults. I don't think about, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think about how to like make it clear. So if I was talking to him directly, I think I could explain it to him if he asked me a question. But also, you know what I mean? So I hear you. I hear you, chatter. Like, I hear that we're like expressing ourselves. You said I can be very nice when it suits me. You mean like, you know what? Are you a kid? I'm just checking. Are you like a teenager or like, are you an adult? I think you're an adult, right? By the way, are you a young person? You know what, girl? It doesn't matter. The point is like, I don't want you to be nice when it suits you. I want you to be kind because it's the right thing to do. That's kind of the vibe in this community, right? So that's kind of the point is like, we're trying to be, you know, we're trying to be like, you know, but you do you know, if if I feel like it's ruining the vibe, I'll probably mute you for a bit. But it's the username. Oh yeah, it's very nice. Oh, funny. You said I'm literally grown. Are you grown or like an adult? Because I am not grown yet, but I'm trying to be. That's what I'm saying. I want to be grown. I want to be an actual adult, but we can't be if we keep showing up acting like teenagers. And I get you because I'm coming out here really like aggressive with this video right now. But I think what my audience is picking up on is like the like could we be nicer to this man? Could we be more empathetic? Probably, but not because he deserves it, because it's the right thing to do. Because we deserve to be emanating that energy. Maybe that's what it is, you know? Chad says, I hate this guy personally, so I feel the anger, but it doesn't serve me to be angry at random people on the internet. What, are you that angry at this guy? I don't hate him like that. I just kind of am annoyed at how misinformed he is. I don't hate him though. He's not giving me predator vibes. He's giving me misinformed vibes, right? You know, he's just like, I'm not really getting what do you think? Right? Chat said all of these nuances you're describing to me are valid, but non-compelling. I'm not moved to agree because I'm not sold on your ethics. Hey, fair. You don't have to be. Yeah, I don't know. He's giving me like uninformed video essayist. You know what I mean? I don't know. He's not giving me Andrew Tate, that's for sure. But he's giving me like incredibly misinformed. Like he's watched too many boy podcasts. He said because he says reading spicy books equals being addicted to porn and book talk girls are weird. I thought he was making the point that girls masturbate too and that boys aren't the only ones who are horny. Right? You said to me misinformed white people are indistinguishable materially from predators. Okay. I think that's fair. I think given how white supremacy plays a role, I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm assuming you're not white then. Okay, that's fair. I think that is fair. I think that he is playing into white supremacy and ultimately is probably like, well, he's definitely playing into misogyny. And I think that actually can make a lot of sense because if you have a misinformed white person who's playing into the structures of power, then they obviously will end up backing predators. Like he probably voted for Trump, which means he probably voted for a rapist, right? So then in that case, I would agree with you, Chatter, that he individually represents a structural system. But right now, I'm not looking at him as through that system. I'm looking at him like a person. So I don't hate him as a person, but I do hate his beliefs as a system. I do hate what he represents as a system because it's so bad, right? Chad says, no, he was saying that spicy books are as dangerous as porn and items of addictions and how it can ruin life. What? He made a long rant about it a long time ago. And since then, I noticed how badly informed his takes are. Oh, so I'm going off of, I don't have a lot of information on this guy. Oh, so you're saying on his TikToks, that's his opinion? Well, we already know he's I just want to say, like, we know he's a conservative because he was like making a video about Charlie Kirk, right? He's like sad Charlie Kirk died or whatever. Yeah, so I agree with you there. I think the Chatter has the right intuition. I think Chatter's intuition is correct that he's a bad person. I think what I'm trying to do is, okay, let's switch modes. Hold on, I see you. It's clicking. You're right. Okay, he is absolutely adding more harm than good to the world. Okay, I was empathizing really hard with his kid self, but you're right. Let's attune ourselves back to the reality that he was making a pro Charlie Kirk video, that he was empathizing with his death, that he was sad other people weren't sad he died, boo, and that he makes bad TikToks. Okay. But I think philosophically speaking, it would implore us to be deeply empathetic with people, even the worst people on the planet, which I'm very good at. Which I think you should practice because it makes you a better person. But it's not about them, it's about you. Free yourself from the burden of holding any hate in your heart. I hate nobody. I have no enemies. So in that case, philosophically speaking, I'm still going to stand by what I said earlier. You should have no enemies and you should hate no people. You should be mad for the world and not at the world. Okay? And that's important. So I think that that's ultimately the point, but I also agree that we should be heavily critical. Yeah, I agree with that.
And that time is the constraint, but my nervous system was so dysregulated after our last energetic exchange. It felt like you weren't holding space for my inner child, and I know you didn't mean to, but it really mirrored a wound that I've been unpacking since my last soul contract, and I'm not projecting. I just need to feel seen, held, and witnessed in my
Is this man a Christian? Christians are not allowed to talk about anyone else's spiritual beliefs. If you're a Christian, I don't want to hear you open your mouth making fun of anyone else. But I agree, like, bubbles are weird, and if you don't understand it, it's weird. And also, like, not everyone is like this.
Process without being made responsible for your triggers. And honestly, I don't want to collapse into a scarcity mindset or re-enter a karmic loop with someone who's not in resonance with my vibration. This needs to be a container where we both feel safe to explore our fluid dynamic. Otherwise, I can't remain available for it.
Hold on, Chatter. You said I'm black and my enemies are sadly white men who pretend to not have enemies. They literally murder my people. Yeah, but girly, you're operating within a reality that is true, but this is a philosophy channel that asks you to stretch out. So I agree with you, this is happening, but that's like women saying they can't be friends with men because men are primarily the primary murderers of like women. But like, I get what you're saying. That is true, but it's not the conclusion we want to be in though, right? Like, I hear you and I agree with you, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, that like all human beings are products of their environment, including our predators. Predators are made by culture. We make predators. Like, we make them. We make predators. And so that's what we need to understand is like, I heavily believe that like society makes predators, right? And so that's what I want to explain, because I agree with you. Like, white supremacy is a problem. I'm never going to sit here and act like it's not. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like white men as a system aren't oppressive as fuck and dangerous as fuck. And also, when we talk about these things from the situation, we're saying to free ourselves from the burden of carrying so much bitter hate in our hearts because of our oppressors, right? Like, you can be a good person even if your oppressor isn't, right? You said race and gender aren't compatible in that way. Again, I understand you, but my hate as an emotion isn't something you get to make prescriptions to solve. True. Especially as a trans woman. Are you a trans woman? Oh. Uh-oh. Bioessentialism in the chat? Wait, do you think I'm a trans woman? Are you a trans woman? Wait. What's happening? Is this black on trans crime? What's happening? Why would that be a burden? Philosophically speaking, we are burdened by hate. Wait, yes, you are trans, or yes, you think I'm trans? Do you think I'm a trans woman? I'm so confused. No, you're trans. Oh, you're trans. I mean, I'm gender fluid, but you're a trans woman. You're a trans woman? I don't want to assume. No, yeah, you're a trans woman. Okay, I'm getting it. I'm picking it up. Hold on. You said, especially as a trans woman. Okay, wait, pause. First, I just want to say you are completely valid in your lived experience. Do I think it's completely coming from a healed place? No. And I think because of that, we will always be having a different conversation. I am not asking you at all to ever disregard the pain you have suffered or the adversity you face. That is not what I'm asking. And I would never ask that of you, and you're completely fine. I'm coming from a healed place that believes that solutions should be made from that place. And I think I'll always be working on it and deconstructing, but I want my solutions to be from that place first and foremost and move backwards. I do not live in a survival space. You're right. I'm incredibly privileged. I'm in a healing space. I'm a living space. And so absolutely 100%, like, I hear you. I see you. You are facing so much adversity, especially under this administration, especially globally. And so, like, everything you're saying is completely valid, right? Just so you know where I'm coming from, I always work backwards from healing, and then I look for solutions. So maybe that's the disconnect. But again, please do not see this as me making a prescription at all, right? Like, that is not what I want you to do. You know what you need to do. You know how you think. You know why you came to those conclusions. You know you better than you, and you should trust that, you know? Absolutely. Right? Let's see. Chad says, it doesn't have to come from a healed place to be coherent within the framework I subscribe to. I don't subscribe to your views because my space is damned to survive only. I fundamentally disagree with you, but that's okay, right? You said I don't subscribe to your views because my space is damned to survival only. It's not, right? Like, in that way, because, like, well, it's not literally though, but the world has made you believe that. And I think that's valid that you're in that space still, but I just want to, like, reassure you, like, you are more than the world has trapped you and more than the world has defined you. You get to exist away from those constructs, even though you live in them. And I know you probably can't hear me now, but you're so, like, I see now I'm like imagining, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I could, you know what I mean? But, like, I can't. I want you to know you're so much more than that. But it's okay. Like, I hope I don't come off condescending, but it hurts my heart when people in these positions really believe that they are, like, their oppressor has convinced them that they can't be more than in survival mode. You are so much more than that, right? You said you can't prove that my specific life isn't damned to survival. Like, you can't prove that. I know. It's okay. I hear you. I see you. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate this discourse a lot. I really do. Let's see. Another chatter says, what makes the lessons he learned any less effective other than the lessons he could have learned from his experience? Isn't it dependent on his desires? So that's a good question. What makes the lessons he learned any less effective than the lessons he could have learned from his experience? So I would assume that this man wants to have the answers. Like Andrew, his name is Andrew. I assume he wants to know what's true. From the way that he talks and the way that he is, he says, I did all this research, I read all these books. I think if he wants to know what's actually true, he should keep reading and deconstructing. I think if that's wrong and that's not his goal, then I think that I misunderstood the point of this video maybe. But I would say that it doesn't seem like he's reached the conclusion that would liberate him with real data. He instead trapped himself in a bubble full of misinformation and has come to bad conclusions because of that. So then I would judge that conclusion and say, oh, it looks like it's wrong. You learned the wrong lesson from your experience because you came to a bad conclusion. Like, if somebody was like, hey, Britt, I was really interested in space, but then I found out Earth is flat and they've been lying to us, and here's my data, I would say, I believe your experience has led you to the wrong conclusion, and I would recommend you redo it. And they were like, nope, this is the data I have. This is the experience I came to, right? So this is what I think is right. And I would say, oh, well, we know it's not right because we have other data to counter it. So the only, that's why I say, like, that's why I think it's wrong, right? But Andrew Andrew's already decided that his lived experience brought him to this conclusion, and it's really real. You could hear, like, he really feels like he did a lot of research. He came to a conclusion. And look, even myself, listen, I did poly for 10 years, but there was a point in my life where I was kind of grumpy about it. But I was really just grumpy at the hypocrisy. Because I also, when I joined polyamory communities, bought into the narrative that I was liberated and automatically healthy until I realized, like, oh, you have problems too. Gay people have problems. Trans people have problems. Like, as much as everybody wants to be like, I'm a minority and I know what's up, being a minority isn't enough. You still have to deconstruct. Being a minority just isn't enough, girls. We have to deconstruct, right? Like, it's not enough for us just to be in the spaces. And so I was butthurt over all these poly people being dramatic and cheating and not going to therapy, or going to therapy but not getting better. And I was like, you're so annoying. And then I was like, oh my God, maybe poly doesn't work. It's not that poly didn't work, it's that we were all traumatized. It's not that monogamy doesn't work, it's that we're traumatized. It's not that, I need to be, anti-poly because I did it for 10 years and blah, blah, blah. It's that we're settling in poly as much as we're settling in monogamy. Do you know what I mean? But that took me a long time to deconstruct as well. Okay, it's not the poly, it's the people. It's the people,
I'm calling for a partner who can meet me in my expansion. Someone who's done the work, who gets that jealousy is a teacher, not a red flag. Someone who doesn't yuck my yum, and I honor your truth. But I'm feeling polysaturated, and my sacral chakra says that this isn't a full body yes right now. So for now, let's just take a sacred pause. Maybe we can re-enter this conversation.
This somebody in Discord said this is Aubrey Marcus coded. He's literally watched some Aubrey Marcus videos and cringed, and us too, girl.
With more curiosity and less reparenting in the future.
I am begging somebody in the comments to translate that, by the way. I've said this in other videos, but it's rare that things will propagate if they aren't working for some people sometimes. So these linguistic word salads that seem to be a product of over-communicating are assumptively working for something. But something here just feels so off to me. And I'm saying this as someone who can speak fluent polyglot. My hometown is Reno, one of the last neighborhoods that you pass on the way out to Burning Man drove by my house, okay? This shit.
Okay, can we just pause? And honestly, like, this video we should watch a different video. He's exhausting. Listen, with peace and love, I hear him. He is absolutely right about the particular group of people he's being critical towards. I also don't like the bubble he's talking about. But the bubble he's talking about is just not all poly people. It doesn't represent polyamory. It just represents this group of people. I also don't like Burning Man. I also don't like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not my bubbles. But what does that have to do with polyamory? It's the same thing with, like, people who are poly, who are like, monogamy's a trap. No one healthy ever does monogamy. Monogamy's a cage. Guys, it's not, it's relax. You know what I mean? Relax. Monogamy is great. Polyamory is great. It's you. You suck. You're the part of the equation that literally sucks. It's not the kind of relationship you have. It's you. And that's what people aren't talking about. It's you. Okay? Ugh, right? Chad says, this might sound extreme, but if a woman has a fear of men because of past experiences, do we not indulge her as long as it's not harmful to others? No. I certainly do not. No. From a healed perspective, you are not allowed to write off all of people who are men because you've had an experience. No. You can, for a time, deconstruct your fear, but no, we do not. If my girlies come to me, they're like, I hate men, they've been so abusive, but they actually literally treat men like shit because they're men. No. But if you understand men as a system can be oppressive and dangerous, that's different. But no, I don't know who you're talking about, but I do not indulge my girlfriends who are traumatized because of men. I always tell them, I hear you, girl. Go to therapy though, and understand that not all men, but also not all men, not all men, right? Also, men is a system always. Men is a system always. Not all men is a people. Men is a system always though. So if the man you are with has not deconstructed, also a danger, right? What's the best kind of man to be with is the kind of man who hates men as a system, but understands man as a people. If you are dating a man who does not hate men as a system, not like real hate, like philosophical hate, like I hate bananas or I hate strawberries, like I hate racism, that's what I mean by hate. If you're not with a man who's anti men as a system, not a good man, So again, it's okay that we're all suffering. It's not okay to take it out on other people. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not okay to take it out on other people though.